open the public session. Carrie, thank you, and Gwen, second. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. And I'd like to ask our student representative if he would lead us in the pledge. Thank you. We begin this evening with our administrator's remarks, and I can start with Ms. Culligan.
Good evening, everyone. There are a number of new probationary appointments on the consent agenda tonight. We have Isabella DeMarco, Italian Spanish teacher at Brewster High School; Marie Ford, special education teacher at JFK; Aaron McGovern, elementary teacher at CD Star; Kristen Oberg, physical education at the high school; Warren Phillips, elementary at CD Star; and Carrie Wellman, math teacher at the middle school. I'd like to also introduce and welcome 3 new administrators: Mr. Brent Barrington, Director of Human Resources; Mr. Carlos Rodriguez, Assistant Principal at Brewster High School; Assistant Principal at CD Star. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Dr. Bash.
Good evening. Even though there's a lot going on this time of year that I would love to talk about, we have a packed agenda, so I'll keep my remarks light. We're excited to announce a summer opportunity for our students in grades K through 6. Through partnership with the Town of Southeast Recreation Department, we will be able to offer transportation and lunch to students who are interested in taking swim lessons at Tenetta Lake through the Town Summer Program. So the transportation and lunch components of Summer Swim and Learn will be funded through Title III and Title IV grants. It will be open to all Brewster Central School District students who are enrolled this year, regardless of their language proficiency or economic status. For $175 for the summer, or about $27 per week, students can engage in swim lessons for 10 hours a week. So you should see this flyer and this opportunity in Bear's backpack tomorrow. I'd like to thank Pat Borman and Kathy Chudina with the Town of Southeast Recreation Department, as well as Karen Dakin, Maggie Andriello, and of course Patty Lawler for the work of getting this off the ground. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Dr. Hay?
Sure. Again, I'll keep the comments very, very short, but there's one announcement that I think everyone's going to be really proud of. I want to thank Coach Scalia for bringing it to our attention that our very own Patrick Ford, an 8th grader, is competing in the New Balance Outdoor National Track and Field competitions. He won't be doing that. Championships this Thursday and Friday, June 13th and 14th in Greensboro, North Carolina. Patrick is one of the top middle school distance runners in the U.S. Top. And he's competing with other top middle schoolers in the country in the 2-mile and the 1-mile run. The estimated time of the actual race that you'll see Patrick in is Thursday, June 13th at 3:45 and then Friday at 5:35. Coach Scalia will be tweeting all the activities and keeping us aware of Patrick's achievements. And I think he deserves our round of applause.
Thank you. I will also save my comments for later in the meeting. Does our student representative have anything for us this evening? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. There's only a few comments. I'll hold it as well short because we have a packed agenda. Scholars Night was last week. 308 student scholars were honored, which means each year they were on high honor roll for at least 3/4 of the year in high school. 34 7-year scholars were honored, which means they received high honor roll for 7 consecutive years since 6th grade. The senior walk is this Friday at around 1:30. The senior picnic is Monday, June 17th. Senior awards night is June 19th. Graduation rehearsal is June 20th in the morning, followed by senior prom, which is in the Amber Room in Danbury on the afternoon of June 20th. Graduation is June 22nd, and June 21st is the 50-year alumni reunion dinner. And since this is my last board meeting, I want to say thank you to everyone, whether it be the board members, old teachers I've had, or teachers that haven't had the pleasure to deal with me throughout the years, or the parents, my peers, and everyone else for a great year here. And next year, I'll be attending SUNY New Paltz, thanks to Ms. Corley. Thank you. For early childhood special education, so hopefully I'll see you guys in a few years for a job interview. Thank you and have a good summer.
Thank you. We now move on to approval of superintendent's recommendations for award of tenure. Tenure appointments, Dr. Henning, Piedmont, and administrators.
Our tenure appointments are a moment of celebration for our district. These outstanding educators and administrators who spend an enormous amount of time honing their craft, working with our children, getting to know them as well as their families, and dedicating themselves to making sure that they do the very best for our children, and that they, at the end of their probationary period, there's no question then that they are awarded tenure. I was talking to Ms. Mendez, who said, you know what, I've had about 16, observations and unannounced observations, and it is intense, and it's an intense period of scrutiny because it's a huge, huge event to award tenure and for any superintendent to ask the Board of Education to consider tenure recipients. So what we're going to ask is that all the tenure recipients please come up and stand on the right-hand side against the wall. I'm going to ask you to do that right now. And we will then further embarrass you by asking our BTA, who also wants to, not retirees, but we want to move for the tenure for retirees. Okay. BTA is going to also, be nice if you stood at the end and shook their hands as well. Thank you. Get a job if you're in the front, right? So, with that said, and I'd ask the administrators to please also stand. Some of you can't stand up, but you can. If you would also find a place so that you are in the line to shake their hands. I'll give you a second, perhaps over at that end by the BTA. We should make a big deal of our tenure recipients, shouldn't we? A lot of hands to shake, but you deserve it. Many of these outstanding educators are people that we're all familiar with. The administrators have spent an inordinate amount of time observing them, and as well as Dr. Gosh and myself have spent time observing them. And we are just so pleased at this point to see you here, having shown us that you absolutely are the very best educators that we could have chosen to work with our children. And we're so proud to be able to present to our Board of Education your appointments as tenure. So congratulations, and please start the handshake, and all the board members and all will stand up. You have to shake a lot of hands. Mrs. Culligan, could you please, you have your list of names, could you please list their names as they come up and shake hands? Mrs. Mendez.
We have Renee Sisto, High School, Renee Cristo, Brewster High School, Mary Nazamuto, Brewster High, Noel Matthews, City Star, Courtney Douglas, Wells, Jacqueline Macris, the High School, Myra Barrio, JFK, Megan Johnson, City Star, Elliot Thomas, City Star, and Richie Bednarchuk, JFK.
Thank you so much. She can take
We'll move on to our presentations, recognition, and discussion. Number 1, Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, Student of Distinction, Lisa Hamill, Assistant Director of Special Education, Michael Soul, Walden School Principal, Angela Giglio, is that correct? Okay. Antonio's teacher, Greg Dinsmore, counselor. Welcome.
Good evening, Brewster board members, Superintendent Henny Piedmont, Brewster educators and families. Congratulations, tenure recipients, very exciting. Tonight we are here to honor Antonio Okikone, did I say it correctly? I'm always struggling, with our PNW BOCES Student of Distinction Award. I would also like to thank our current BOCES board member and former Brewster board member, Mary Kay Nielsen, for being here tonight. I would like to introduce Michael Soul, principal of our Walden School.
Thank you, everyone. Our Student of Distinction Award is reserved for those unique few students who demonstrate outstanding leadership skills, academic progress, and community spirit. Bill George, a senior fellow at the Harvard Business School, studying more than 200 CEOs of major companies, and found a defining characteristic, but the best one is courage. Courage distinguishes great leaders from excellent managers. In one of his articles, he quoted a Buddhist monk who once said, "The longest journey you will ever take is the 18 inches from your head to your heart." And our time with Antonio, we believe he exemplifies this level of courage. I would like to introduce Mr. Greg Dinsmore of Walden School Psychology, who will give you a little more detail about this remarkable young man from your district.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to try to keep this much shorter than an annual review because at this point in the year, we've been through many of them. I was just kind of sharing with Antonio quickly before we came up here, sort of the reason why I wanted to just speak on his behalf quickly. You know, and the sort of summary that I gave him is a few years ago, Antonio started, you know, a little bit of an alternative journey. And his journey initially landed him at the Walden School in Yorktown within the ITSP program. And for some of you who might not be familiar with that, that's the Intensive Therapeutic Support Program, designed as a short-term sort of transitional program to sort of stabilize the student, acclimate the student to the building, and then possibly look at other classroom options that would be supportive of the young man. You know, I was asked, fortunately, to go in and observe him briefly in the ITSP program to help assess whether he would be appropriate to transition into our Learning Center program. Typically, we'll be in there observing students multiple times in order to really evaluate and assess if it would be in the student's best interest to transfer. It only took about 10 minutes that day for me to observe Antonio and to collect some information from the staff who had been working with him to determine that he would be a very nice addition to our Learning Center program. So we transitioned from the ITSP program seamlessly into the Learning Center, and that was about mid-year, and then came another transition. From from the class that he transitioned to originally into a new class with new teachers and new aides and a new counselor. So the point I was sharing with Antonio is that for such a young man, he has been through a considerable amount of change in a very short period of time. So the recognition is all about his sense of resiliency. And that's the word that I oftentimes use with many of my students. They look at me like I have 3 heads. We do our best to break that word down as much as we possibly can, but it's without a doubt that this is a very resilient young man. And we're here tonight to acknowledge him. But I also told him that it wouldn't be fair for us, wouldn't be fair if we didn't also acknowledge his unbelievably and unconditionally supportive family, Mr. and Miss Hokie Cohen. So I will put them on the spot briefly. As a clinician within an 811 self-contained program, our programs thrive because of the leadership and because of our colleagues that are in the trenches, so to speak, on a day-to-day basis. But I can tell you as a clinician who's oftentimes there late, communicating with parents, ups and downs, that it means that much more to always know that there's always going to be somebody on the other end of an email, on the other end of a phone call, to really plan and strategize to support this young man in his journey moving forward. So just again, want to just congratulate Antonio, as well as his mom and dad for all the success thus far, and looking forward to ESY, and more so to September. So thank you guys very much.
In recognition for your outstanding leadership skills, academic progress, and community spirit, signed by Dr. Jim Ryan, our superintendent, and by Dr. Fleischman, our director of special education. Congratulations.
Could Antonio also shake the hands of the board members when he finishes?
Come this way.
And Antonio's brother wants his hand shaken.
Thank you.
Okay, we now move on to Seal of Biliteracy recognition, Ms. Horler and Ms. Dakin.
Good evening. I recently read that language acquisition is critical, not just for cultural understanding and exchange, but for U.S. success in areas ranging from foreign policy to global security and from international business to science and technology. As you will hear tonight, our New York State Seal of Biliteracy recipients have set goals for themselves to take on roles in professions ranging from neuroscience to physical therapy, from medicine to criminal justice and international relations, from cosmetology to culinary arts, from becoming an author to being the President of the United States. In getting to know these candidates, not only are they incredibly talented, intelligent, and creative, They are also very funny, well-rounded to say the least. This is our third year offering our BHS seniors the opportunity to prove to a committee of teachers and administrators that they are bilingual and biliterate. It is not an easy task, nor is the distinction one that is easily earned. To even be eligible to apply for the chance to present to a committee, a student must have a high intermediate level of proficiency in both English and a world language, which with accomplishments including but not limited to completing 11th and 12th grade ELA courses and passing college level world language course with an 85 or higher, scoring an 80 or higher on a New York State Regents exam in ELA Common Core, or a 75 or higher on the English Regents exam, presenting a digital portfolio of scholarly essays and other writing to a committee in English and or a world language. Each year, the presentations continue to impress the assessors, so much so that this year, we had an assessor from BOCES who said, "I can't believe how impressive this presentation was. I felt like I was a judge on The Voice after a Seal of Biliteracy candidate pulled out her guitar and sang in Tagalog as part of her presentation. Talk about a creative risk taker." This year is the first year we have 2 students who wouldn't take no for an answer. When told they did not meet the criteria to earn the seal, one immediately decided to register to retake the English Regents exam in June again in order to earn the seal. Nothing, not even the English Regents, was going to stop her. The other student also continues to persevere as he refuses to give up, taking multiple assessments in Spanish through an outside language testing institute to show evidence of his biliteracy and bilingualism. As I stand here today, years into my career, I once again am reminded of why I became an educator and why I love my job as much as I do. Our lifelong learning as teachers most often comes directly from incredibly amazing students like the ones you will meet tonight. Before Mrs. Horler introduces our New York State Seal of Biliteracy recipients and tells you a bit about each one, I would like to thank the following people at Brewster High School and Henry H. Wells Middle School for their leadership and collaboration on a process that could not have been accomplished without them. Antonio Franze, Carmen Campos, Filomena Carretero, Tracy Villaverde, Jillian Troncoso, Nisi Russo, Roblo Albo, Noel Lewis, Deb Velasquez, Anne Marie Poole, Mike Vitorti, Joe Pizzuto, and the BHS administrators. Most importantly, I would like to thank you, parents, who support your children day in and day out in reaching their goals and their dreams. You are the first and most important teacher and role model in your child's life, even at this stage in their lives as they graduate and move on to college. Megan, Florence, Julia, Ariani, Kane, Kylie, Olivia, Vanessa, Yasmin, Emily, Elvira, Nicole, Rachel, Emily, and Osmar. I have no doubt that you will be critical as bilingual and biliterate leaders in your fields and professions of choice in making the U.S. a success in the global marketplace. Congratulations on your achievement.
So as I call each student up, I'll tell you a little bit about each student, and then if they can line up against the wall by Mrs. Dakin, that would be wonderful. And then at the end, we'll have them come in front of the board and they can shake all their hands. One of the things that happens with the Seal of Biliteracy is this seal will be affixed to their diploma at the end of graduation, and then they get a special cord at graduation that they can wear. So it's a great honor for all the students. So our first one is Olivia Marini. She speaks Spanish. She will be going to the University of Kentucky Honors College, majoring in bio, minoring in Spanish, and she will be on the pre-med track. Her interest is neonatal pediatric surgeon. So, congratulations. Vanessa Orellana, Spanish, cosmetology license, and her interest after school is to be a hairstylist and a makeup artist. Yasmin Peralta, Spanish. Her interest is to go to DCC for 2 years and transfer to a 4-year college studying nursing, and her long-term goal is hopefully to become a doctor. Emily Perez Molina, Spanish. She'll be going to Mercy College in the fall, and she will also be majoring in nursing. So hopefully she'll be an RN at the end of Mercy College. Elvira Sandoval, Spanish. She will be going to Johnson & Wales for culinary arts, and her aspirations are to become a chef. Nicole Shad, Spanish. She'll be going to WCC for nursing, and long-term, her goals are to become a pediatric nurse. Megan Beal, Spanish. She'll be going to Furman University, where she'll be playing lacrosse and majoring in neuroscience with a minor in Spanish. Her long-term goals are to become a neuroscientist who researches incurable diseases of the brain. Florence Cuomo, Italian. She'll be going to Davidson College in North Carolina, majoring in English, and hopefully long-term she'll be an author one day. Giardina, Italian. She'll go to SUNY Binghamton, majoring in bio or pre-dental track. Hopefully, she will be an orthodontist. Ariane Gonzalez, Tagalong, will go to Baruch College, majoring in journalism, minoring in international business. Her aspirations are to become a journalist or a diplomat for the United Nations. Cain Gonzalez, Spanish. He'll be going to FSU, majoring in exercise physiology, and long term, his goals are to become a physical therapist. Rachel Thompson, Spanish. She'll be going to Gettysburg College, majoring in international affairs, and long-term aspirations are lawyer or to be a politician. Emily Martinez, Spanish. She'll be attending WCC and working part-time. Her long-term goals are to become an immigration lawyer, homicide detective, or something in the criminal justice field. Emily Martinez, Spanish. Oh, I just did that. Osmar Silva, Spanish. And Kylie Michaels, also Spanish.
We now move on to recognition of 2019 retirees, Dr. Henry Piedmont, and administrators.
I just feel the need to give these young people another round of applause. So impressive. Speaking of impressive, this next round of people of distinction who have graced us with their presence in the various roles that they've served in the district on behalf of children. What we're going to ask is our administrators in this order who are going to come to the podium, and all of the instructional and non-instructional retirees in that building are going to line up against the wall. You're not in trouble. And you're going to hear some things about yourselves that we recall and we'll always remember. We'll start with Ms. Spoiler, Brewster High School, and it'll be all of the instructional and non-instructional retirees would line up against the wall. At the end of Mrs. Spoiler's group of retirees, each will walk past and shake hands, and actually when they encounter either Ms. Cunningham or Mrs. Masika, they're going to get a nice little present in the bag on behalf of the Board of Education. It's a surprise. You won't ever know what it is. And then after Mrs. Spoiler, it'll be Mr. Clark, and right after Mr. Clark, it'll be Mrs. Hancock, followed by Mrs. Cherry, followed by Dr. Zamperlin, and then Ms. Mary Smith, Dr. Gosh, who will speak about Dr. Young, and I will speak about Mrs. Culligan. So, thank you very much.
So before I start talking about all of our retirees, I just wanted to thank the board for hiring Carlos Rodriguez as our new AP up at the high school. He was in the building yesterday for freshman orientation. He walked around the building, met a lot of people. I heard phenomenal things about him. I'm sure stuff that he doesn't even know that they were all talking. It's like, yeah, we're so excited. So I can't thank you enough. He's going to be a wonderful addition to the team. So retirees. My first retiree is Pete Gumas. Pete has always been a caring, nurturing teacher who's drawn on his subject matter and extensive knowledge about a whole lot of things. One of the things he's most interested in is stargazing, which is interesting. So at retirement, he will be traveling and looking in the sky, using his telescope, and finding some interesting things to do with his social studies knowledge and his vast knowledge of economics. That's one of the things that Pete was phenomenal in doing, really focusing on personal finance and economics. He believed that every student here at the high school should have at least one course in economics, and we're doing that because of Pete's insistence. So his greatest strength in the classroom is working with kids and his ability to generate student engagement and passion about social studies, which is sometimes difficult when you get to the high school, particularly when you're in 12th grade and you're just done. But Pete's done a remarkable job at that. He will be greatly missed at the high school for his steadfast dedication to his students. So thank you, Pete Gomez. Jim Kilroy. Jim has always been an energetic, engaging teacher whose students have benefited from his love of chemistry, earth science, and music. He's certified in just about everything. And definitely certified in all three of those, right? Yes. His ability to get them excited about his subject is unique. For years, he's been able to mix highly organized lessons and activities with fun, engaging activities. Sometimes he's even played guitar. He's a classical guitarist. Jim always personalized and focused on relevant learning that all teachers strive to provide in their classrooms. In addition to fun and energy, Jim also engaged students for years by giving them a voice and allowing them to develop into the Science Honor Society. Hundreds of students have been recycling because of Jim within the last few years. Jim has organized the Giving Tree, which allowed BHS to contribute and purchase Christmas gifts for hundreds of families. Jim plans to travel, focus on karate, and teach at the college level after his retirement. His energy, enthusiasm, and expertise will be greatly missed. Bob Carrigan. So Bob is everyone's favorite teacher at the high school. He has that infectious personality where everyone wants to be in Bob's class. In fact, last year when we were online at the airport in Iceland, he was openly recruiting students to take his calculus class. He's like, you should take my class, while we're online at the airport. And students took his class. He's just a phenomenal teacher and a great person to be around. He uses a combination of caring, expertise, and good humor to benefit the Brewster High School students and teachers. As an instructor, Bob creates an environment where students succeed because they know what he expects and that he expects the best, and he'll do everything he can to support them in their efforts to succeed. With his quiet but strong approach to student engagement, he has managed to get the best of students with widely disparate levels of readiness and expertise. He teaches everything from the lowest algebra class to the highest of the calculus class, and all students succeed in that class. Bob has always been the go-to teacher. For years, students have clamored to get into his classes. Over the last several years, he's done a masterful job in his role of teaching upper-level classes. Bob is well-liked by all. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's the teacher everyone wants to be like. Bob is a pleasure and a gem to have working in the building, and he will be missed. Doris Shukin. I don't think Doris is. After 31 years of dedication to Brewster's physical ed department, Doris's time has come to an end. Doris has always been a caring, nurturing teacher and coach who's drawn on her subject matter and knowledge and past experience to engage students of all abilities. Doris has always been a positive contributor to the phys ed department and to the high school as a whole. Throughout the years, Doris has been a key component in our efforts to develop inquiry learning within a physical education setting. Doris's greatest strength is in the classroom and working with kids, where her ability to generate engagement and passion about health and phys ed have helped countless of students enjoy the challenges of a rigorous physical education curriculum. Her ability to work as a team member and lead a team as a coach, and her steadfast dedication to her students will be missed while she's in retirement. In retirement, Doris hopes to be officiating, golfing, fishing, boating, gardening, and having frequent trips to Florida. She will be a nest. Ginny Nasarino. So Ginny was the principal's secretary for 20 years. She retired in December. And literally, Ginny spent 20 years running principals like myself and past principals and running the high school. She showed you can make a difference in a life by the day-to-day things that you do for them. Those small things work together to make a big difference in the lives of others, and Ginny made a difference in the lives of everyone at Brewster High School. Every single day, Ginny would stop and listen to everyone's problems and issues. She knew everything about everyone and their families. Her guidance and encouragement have helped me and so many other people at Brewster High School thrive. She is missed, and I wish she was here tonight so we can talk to her. But she is spending her time as a public official. She is a county legislator, and she is super busy, and she's traveling to Florida, and she's spending time. She's going to be a grandmother in a couple weeks. So Ginny is missed. Thank you. Retiree is Henrietta Lodge. People become social workers to make a difference in the lives of students that are in their class or on their caseload, to teach them that they can accomplish their goals and become whoever they want to be in this world. That is why Henrietta got into education, and that is exactly what she's been doing for the last 22 years here at Brewster High School. At times, for Henrietta, making a difference also meant teaching her students and some teachers how to work together in a group, how to improve their lives, how to define their own success, and how to achieve it. Henrietta showed that you can make a difference in a student's life by the day-to-day things, the small things that you can do. Those small things work together to make a big difference in the lives of others. Sometimes the hardest part about education is just getting the students involved and interested in learning. Henrietta did that. For years, Henrietta has been on the PBIS committee, safe school ambassadors, bingo, and anything and everything we needed to get done at the high school, Henrietta would volunteer for. Students who would do just about anything for Henrietta. Thank you for being such an integral part of Brewster High School.
While they finish, would you please give them another round of applause?
So after working in this district, this is, I believe, my 18th year working in the district, this is probably one of the most bittersweet things that we have to do, is say goodbye to our family and friends. Our first retiree tonight is Randy Hora. Randy Hora has been teaching in public education for 44 years. He started his career in Connecticut before joining us at the H.H. Wells 28 and a half years ago as our tech teacher. Randy is most likely the only employee in the district who graduated from the University of Idaho. I don't know if that's a fact, but he decided not to plant himself there because apparently they paid their teachers small potatoes. Idaho. I remember many years ago, I enjoyed going to shop class as a middle school student just because we get to make wonderful things. I remember that feeling of being able to create something with my own hands. And Randy has given so many kids that opportunities over the year to create with their own hands. And I think so many people will have that memory of middle school because they were able to do something. Today we talk a lot about project-based learning. And when I mentioned that to Randy, he kind of snickers and he says, I've been doing project-based learning for 44 years. It's not a new thing. I said, okay. So Randy is known for his high expectations, especially surrounding safety. One of the things that Randy does that many of the teachers do not do is he works with every single student in the building. Randy, we will miss you and thank you for your 44 years of service to public education. Mr. Vince. Jeff Vince left us last year after working at Wells Middle School for 20 years as our head custodian, after having a previous career in management. Jeff always took pride in keeping the building beautiful, was in charge during the reconstruction of H.H. Wells, and made sure everything went smoothly. Came in on every single weekend, checked on the building just to make sure everything was running smoothly. When we were all home on the weekends, Jeff was at the building making sure everything was standing and in good order. Sometimes Mr. Vince was a bit misunderstood. People would ask at times why Mr. Vince seemed cranky. As a fellow Mets fan, I always understood where it was coming from, and it had nothing to do with his job. Jeff has joined his wife Diane in retirement, having worked closely with Mrs. Vince for many years as an English teacher. I know that she is keeping him very, very busy at home. Together they are spending more time with their two boys, Andrew and Michael, of whom they are very proud. Jeff, I miss seeing you on a daily basis, and congratulations on your retirement. Good luck with Diane. Rosemary Seppi. Is Rosemary here? Rosemary Seppi is such a tremendous part of our school culture, and though we're happy for her, we miss seeing her every day, although we do see her occasionally sometimes. She has served the students of Wells since September of 1996, 22 years, and if you were a classroom teacher, and you were fortunate enough to have Rosemary in your classroom, you felt truly blessed. She could step into any classroom at any time and take over. Take over instruction, take over discipline, take over the principal's office, you name it. She could do it. Not only was Rosemary one of the best teacher's aides I have ever worked with, she also served her colleagues equally well. As a building rep, Rosemary acted as a liaison between the building administration, putting out fires, standing up for her colleagues, and always navigating difficult situations. When she needed to advocate for others, she was at her best. There was no one you'd rather have on your side that commanded the same level of respect as Mrs. Seppi. Mrs. Seppi, good luck, and thank you for coming to grace us with your presence every once in a while as a substitute. Mrs. Kerrigan. I know you're here, Mrs. Kerrigan. Sue Kerrigan has been serving the students at Brewster's for the past 16 and a half years. She's such a professional, and she's a perfect special education teacher. She's always calm, and she has the patience of a saint. She consistently stays after school with students, making sure they are caught up and prepared for their classes. She's the ideal co-teacher, making sure she sticks with her students until she is confident that they understand what they are doing. She has often taken on additional work, tutoring students who needed additional support. Mrs. Kerrigan has previously taught in our life skills program at the high school, but for the past several years we've been lucky to have her with our family at Wells. Sue has a wonderful smile, quiet enthusiasm, and just a genuine kindness that serves our children, and we will miss that every day. Sue and her husband Bob will both retire this year in order to spend more time traveling and enjoying their 3 sons, Neil, Tom, and Mike. Thank you, Sue, for your service. Mrs. Starr. Diane Starr has been serving the Wells community for over 20 years. Diane is probably one of the most professional, consistent teachers I have ever seen. Personally, I have always admired her calm demeanor, her positive disposition, and her incredible work ethic. She's truly one of the hardest working and most prepared teachers I've ever witnessed. Often I'd walk out of my office at 5 or 6 in the afternoon, and Diane would be at the copier getting ready for the next day's lesson, even as late as last week with only a few weeks left to school. Mrs. Starr has created a welcoming environment for so many students, helping them to be successful. I've never heard her raise her voice to a student, and she has never given up on a single child. When we were told that Diane was retiring and we would have to replace her, we realized that she is irreplaceable. But we will do our best to retain her high standards. Diane is looking forward to spending more time with her husband, Mike, who is also retiring this year. She's looking forward to kayaking, hiking, and spending more time with her 2 daughters, Janine and Lauren. Diane, thank you for everything you've done for us. We will miss your grace and leadership. We wish you a long and healthy retirement. Peggy Zabrowski. When preparing for our building retirement party, I asked Patty Lawler if she had any dirt on her sister Peggy. I shared this story. She basically said if Peggy ever did something wrong, I was doing it with her. Or covering up for her, so nice try. You might want to go dig somewhere else. Peggy is the glue that has held Wells Middle School together, serving the district for 23 years and as the principal secretary for the past 18 years. Personally, I couldn't be happier for Peggy, but at the same time, I will miss her as a secretary, a friend, a mentor, and probably most of all, as a psychologist and a confidant. I'll be calling her quite a bit. Peggy's three boys, Derek, Bill, and Steve, absolutely cherish her. She values family more than anything, and she always puts others first. That's just who she is. While her family means everything to her, it's hard to separate her family from others since she treats everyone with the utmost care and respect. Peggy treats all of us like members of her family, and our family is so thankful for her. Peggy, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. You are the epitome of class, teamwork, and one of the wisest people I have ever had the pleasure to know. Your kindness, humility, and love have left an indelible mark on so many of us, and we are eternally grateful for everything you've done for us. Thank you.
One more round of applause, please.
I have the great pleasure, because I'm Kathy Hancock, Director of Food Services. I have the great pleasure of honoring two child nutrition employees. The first is Laura Scheck, who for 14 years has provided tremendous service to students at Brewster. I wish her success in her regular teaching and a peaceful retirement. My second retiree is Marie Gordon, and I know she's here because she came in on a flight about an hour ago. Marie, I'm going to ask you to come stand by my side. Because I can't do this without you. Right by my side. Right by my side. Thank you for 24 years of incredible service. You were the first one to welcome me, the sign which is still hanging by my desk. You are the best example of the standard operating procedure. You were the department role model. You never missed a beat. Always made it happen, no matter what crazy challenge threw your way. Thank you for all that you shared, all that you've given to the students of Brewster, and to me. You are special, and we miss you a lot. Thank you. One more round of applause.
Good evening. I'm honored to speak about Lori Gillette. Lori Gillette has been an outstanding teacher and math specialist for the last 16 years at CV Star. Lori is always advocating for her students. She's kind, patient, and a dedicated professional. When you enter her classroom right away, you can see how she makes learning math fun and takes the stigma away for many struggling learners. Lori is the queen of data. If you've ever been to a data meeting with Lori, you are quickly impressed with the knowledge and information she provides. It's thorough, informative, and most of all, user-friendly. When I asked one of her students what he thought of Mrs. Gillette, he said, "What? She's leaving? Why is she leaving? She's so good and she's so smart." He said, "I used to not be great at division, but I'm great now because of Mrs. Gillette." I think that says it all. Lori is truly a master teacher and will be sorely missed. Congratulations, Lori. I'm honored to speak about Janet Murphy. This is Janet's 42nd year of teaching, 33 of them in Brewster, 10 of which have been at CV Star. Janet is the quintessential professional. She loves her job and the students she's taught. She makes learning fun, and she always builds student self-esteem with her loving and patient personality. She looks at each child as unique, and they in turn want to do their very best. When I asked some of her students about her, they said, "She's really optimistic. She doesn't like to take privileges away from us. She's a good teacher. She's strict with us because she wants us to succeed." Janet said her proudest moments are every day when she walks through the doors at CV Star, knowing how blessed she is to touch lives of her students. I say the students and staff have been blessed. CV Star will not be the same without Janet in residence. Enjoy retirement, Janet, and congratulations.
Another round of applause.
While not a retirement, CV Star is also saying goodbye to Teresa Cherry at the end of this month. Teresa, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for all that you have done. You were an unexpected gift. You kept our building and our staff and our students moving forward. We have learned so much from you. We will miss seeing you out and about in the hallways, greeting students and staff, hearing about your adventures and what your grandchildren are up to. We will miss your no-nonsense ways and, of course, your outfits of the day, because they are great. We wish you all the best in the next chapter of life. I'm sure that you and Bob are going to be off on great travels, and we hope that you stop in and share them with us. Thank you so much for everything, and best of luck.
Good evening. First person is Kathy Norman. Kathy is here. Kathy has been a speech language teacher in Brewster for 37 years, and this has been her full career. She graduated from Geneseo with a BA degree in May and was hired in July of 1982. After graduating, she went on 2 interviews, one in Beacon and one in Brewster. As a college grad, she decided to expand her horizon, going 30 minutes away from where she lives in Beacon, and took the job here in Brewster. Kathy's retirement plans are to spend as much time as she can with her children and grandchildren who live in San Diego, Washington State, Costa Rica, and Albany. With her parents and siblings, she will spend time with her many friends and extended family here in Brewster. She looks forward to volunteering, traveling, reading wildly, and she does mean wildly and not widely, and loving life. She will forever be grateful for being part of the Garden Street School and JFK and for 37 years in Brewster. Her fondest memories are being here with her friends, colleagues, and their children that she's worked with during this time. She states, "It has been my honor and privilege to have served the community of Brewster by helping our children and their families. No matter where I go, Brewster will always hold a special place in my heart." And I would personally like to thank Kathy for being an advocate for children and their families. And we've been through a number of things together, and when you have the epitome of someone who keeps to a high standard and does things that are right for children, Kathy is the person you want on your side. Thank you. Next person we'd like to congratulate is Kim Rosaport. Kim has been in the district since 1998. She started as a part-time kindergarten aide, and after working a few years, the position turned full-time, and she was thrilled to take. Kathy has nurtured our youngest children in Brewster for 21 years, and she's loved every minute. She loves her time writing with the children and greeting them every morning outside with simple joy. Kathy keeps a little notepad. Kim keeps a little notepad with some of the cutest things that parents and children have said over the years. Her name is Rosaport. So people have called her Rose Garden, Rose Bush, or Miss Roses. Bottom line is, there's a rose in there. She remembers one day, the little girl who spilled her milk, and she was really upset. And Kim said, Kim language, "Oh honey, don't cry, I spill milk too." And another child said, "Well, maybe you need a sippy cup." It's stories like these that she will cherish. Kim's family is her world. She will be spending time with her baby and babysitting her granddaughters. Well, we just had a recent one, just last week, added to the family, so congratulations. And gardening, baking, and finding time to decorate homes, which is a passion of hers. Thank you, Kim, for nurturing and caring our youngest children in the Brewster schools. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Mary Smith, Transportation Department. First, I'd just like to say there's a lot of retirees here tonight, and I'm glad that with the national shortage of bus drivers, we only have 2. So, and we'll go job. By the way, transportation, we get up at 3 a.m. The other thing I'd like to say is all the retirees, if you could stop by the Transportation Department and pick up an application, because it's a really good job for a retiree. I don't know if you've seen our advertisement, but that's the ones we try to attract. So I just got Kathy. I'm Kathy and Ms. Culligan. I'm recruiting. The first driver could not make it tonight, but anyone knows Loretta Rocco. Miss Loretta, she came to us from the school monitor side in 2007. I remember when Loretta almost quit in her first week of bus driver training because she couldn't quite get the knack of parking the bus in the parking slot. And don't worry, if you apply, we teach you how to do that. Okay? Once accomplishing this feat, as the years went on, Miss Loretta gained the reputation of being a drill sergeant on her bus. See, I get to say what I want because she's not here. Many parents called to complain about the driver's stern personality and lack of enthusiasm to forego the rules. And also many parents called to thank me for not assigning her to their children's bus route. But I'm behaving, by the way. But with all kidding aside, Miss Loretta may have lacked charm and leniency, but what she did possess was a kind and caring heart, along with the ability to provide all the students with a safe ride to and from school. And this was very much appreciated by all. Loretta is not only missed every day, but every time we have to process the referral on another student. So we love and miss Loretta. Thank you. The second employee that we have that retired also will be joining us back as a part-time or sub driver. He committed to that in the hall before we got down here. That's Mr. Michael Palmieri. This is Super Mike. Michael came to us in 2007, and at that time we were unaware that we had actually had a real superhero on our driving roster. For the past 12 years, Michael has never worked the minimum 6-hour day. A breakdown, a missed student, or an emergency service, Mike had it covered, and before we could call to ask, he had already called us in to announce on the radio, "I got it, I'll be there in a minute." How Mike did this while servicing his own assignments, I'm not really sure I want to know. But Mike's high energy and willingness to help earned him the super driver label. We also considered putting an S on the front of his bus, but the DOT wouldn't approve it. Aside from Mike's dedication and ability to make just about any one of the routes that I put together, not only work, but he got them to run on time. Mike will be missed for his great smile, his caring nature, and his happy-go-lucky attitude. We are now left with an empty vest, or should I say cape, at transportation to fill. We're going to miss you, Michael, our super driver, and I would like to just take this moment. I don't know if anybody's seen on the school, a lot of the drivers, they have to wear yellow vests. Well, we have one of our employees took up the hobby of cricketing. I called Jennifer Gary, she's going to do a story on her next week. And the vests that the staff are wearing all have little, characters on them or their favorite logo, team sayings. It's all fun and friendly. I understand the kids are enjoying it. So we have Michael's retired superhero vest to give him today. Thank you all for listening. That he said I'm the best boss he ever had. So my evaluation is tomorrow.
Shake hands. Taking orders on the best. Thank you.
Another round.
I'm going to ask Mrs. Patty Lawler to come up so her granddaughter Winnie can go home. So, in speaking and thinking about Patty retiring from the district, there are 3 emotions that sort of come to the forefront and compete with one another. The first is denial, the second is dread, and the last is just happiness and celebration for the long and fruitful career that Patty has shared with us in Brewster over the last 23 years. Patty currently serves as the assistant to the K-12 curriculum instruction and assessment role, which she has mastered for 6 years. Prior to that, she served in various capacities at CV Star for 12 years, spending a good chunk of that time as a principal secretary. And before her time at CV Star, Patty worked in various roles at Wells. Patty's work ethic and desire to keep learning is incredible. Just yesterday, she told me a story about how when she was an aide at Wells, she wanted to learn more about the clerical aspect of things. So on her free period, she would go into the office and help out just to learn. That says a lot about Patty and who she is and how she always wants to continue to improve and get better. Patty's strengths are voluminous. She is the ultimate steward of the district's resources. She sees problems before they are problems. She's meticulous with all details pertaining to all components of what we do. There are a number of pieces of our jobs which are unique in the system. We manage the homeschool students, we oversee the title grants, we oversee policies, tutoring, we communicate with BOCES and other representatives for our professional learning materials and supplies. People within Brewster and outside of Brewster know to go to Patty to get it all done. She just masters all of it without a hitch. Her follow-up and follow-through are impeccable and beyond reproach. Recently, we had a state education department audit. So we weren't necessarily being audited, but our private school and our boundaries was. And since we oversee their title expenditures, title grant expenditures, by extension, we were audited. So Patty met with the representatives for about an hour, and then they met with me. They shared how impressed they were with our systems of documentation and actually said they were going to take examples to share as exemplars throughout the state. And after that, they literally could not stop saying, you know, she retires on July 1st. What are you going to do? Brewster, what's Brewster going to do? Really? Who are you going to hire to replace her? As if I didn't have enough anxiety about that all along. But they were able to pick up on how exceptional Patty is after meeting with her for just an hour and seeing only one aspect of what she's responsible for. So Patty, you are a class act. In fact, you and your sister Peggy redefined class, professionalism, and grace. You've made this district stronger. You make all those around you better professionals. And to be honest, in addition, personally, you've made me a better person and a better mom. I consider myself blessed to be able to interact with you. John Clark, who did this to me, interact with you on a daily basis and call you a friend and confidant. So thank you, Patty, for all that you've done for Brewster, and please don't go far. I have the privilege of speaking about Dr. Robin Young, who is leaving the Brewster Central School District after 20 years of service here and after a really long time in education. That's a direct quote. Robin has served as the principal of JFK Elementary School, CV Star Intermediate School, and most recently as the co-principal of Brewster High School. While at Brewster High School, Robin has started what we hope to be a new tradition, which is a job fair for juniors and seniors, making learning more real and authentic for our students. I think it's safe to say that Robin is best known among her colleagues for her passion about students, her optimism about every kid being savable, and her tenacity in never giving up and helping them succeed. There are some words of wisdom that Robin has shared with me over the years that resonate and still stick with me. While at the elementary level, she used to speak of getting students what they need when they need it. And when I think about the really complex problems we have in education, that's really the essence of it all. I mean, if we could boil it down to that, we could solve a lot. She also shared with me when I was first principal to spend a lot of time on hiring, making sure to be incredibly thorough throughout the entire process. She has put that advice into practice, and as a result, many of the teachers that she has hired have had staying power. They're still here and they will be here for a long time, continuing to serve our students well. And perhaps my most favorite piece of advice, which is a little bit different than the other two, but just as important, she used to say, look, never call the district office on a board meeting day unless you absolutely need to. Just leave them alone, which in this role I can appreciate even more. Her colleague, Mrs. Forler, has shared what she appreciates most about Dr. Young is how thoughtful she is. Whether it is buying mugs for the nurses or back braces for her colleagues, she has others on her mind constantly. She is quick to send thank you cards and notes to acknowledge the work and efforts of others. Dr. Young's thoughtfulness and consideration has enhanced Brewster High School in her time there. Dr. Young, we thank you for your 20 years of service at Brewster Central School District. We wish you nothing but health and happiness in your retirement. Congratulations. Another round of
Nash Graham, I think you're up to speak about this Janet Nappy.
Hi, I'm Elena Nash Graham from the business office, and I'm here to speak about Janet Nappy, who I do not believe is in attendance. Janet retired in December 2018 after 18 years of service in the district office. She began contributing to the district, first in a purchasing function and later in both purchasing and accounts payable functions within the business office. We want to express the greatest level of appreciation for Janet Nappy and the 18 years she dedicated to making sure the district's needs were met and the bills were paid. In between travels and the general relaxation of retirement that she's been enjoying, Janet continues to contribute to the Brewster Central School District by substituting for the business office on various projects for which we need her experience and expertise. Janet, thank you, and we hope you enjoy retirement.
Ms. Culligan, you're up to speak about Mrs. Brea, and then you can stay there because then I'm going to come up and speak about you.
I would like to thank Maria for her 37 years of service to the district. Maria started at the high school guidance office 1 year after she graduated from Brewster High. She then transferred to Human Resources, where she has been for 15 years. Maria is a consummate professional. She is the district's civil service expert and is often used as a resource of historical knowledge for any SEIU civil service matters. She is highly organized, has great attention to detail, and a strong work ethic. Her expertise, knowledge, and commitment will be sorely missed. Congratulations to Maria on a wonderful career and best wishes for the next phase. It has been our pleasure to know her and to work with her.
And finally, Mrs. Kathleen Culligan. Ms. Culligan has been in education for a total of 30 years, 3 of which she's fortunately spent here in Brewster. Kathy started in Troy, New York as a human resources coordinator, where she learned the ropes of human resources and was then promoted to the director of human resources as a result of overhauling the department and establishing practices that are still in use today. After leaving Troy, she headed to Albany to become the director and received accolades for her contributions to overhauling the department and establishing practices that continue to benefit the district. We then got lucky when she came our way. Kathy is one of the finest professionals I know. She makes a very complicated and complex job look easy. It is not easy. Kathy's background knowledge developed in rather complicated environments, would you say? Coupled with her impeccable integrity, ethical and moral fortitude, uncompromising sense of fairness, dedication to excellence and high standards, has resulted in improving the department and adding efficiencies that will benefit all of us. It doesn't matter who you are or what job you do, Kathy will treat you with respect and dignity that you deserve. She believes that her responsibility is to ensure that the children of Brewster get the best professionals teaching them, transporting them on the bus, serving them breakfast and lunch, leading their schools and departments, maintaining and keeping the property safe and clean, nursing their aches and pains, supervising them during recess, on the bus or while passing in the halls, and working with learners who need specialized assistance. In Kathy's eyes, these and these only deserve to become members of the district. You may not know it, but Kathy can be made to laugh, and she often makes Dr. Gosh, Mr. Carlson, and especially me laugh a lot. Her compassion is genuine, and she is quick to remind us to count our blessings. It has been a personal privilege and honor to have worked with you, Kathy. There are few, if any, who surpass you in professionalism and grace. While Kathy will be here for a few days per week after she retires to mentor our new Human Resources Director, Brent, she has earned her time to devote her attention to her family, which includes 5 adorable grandchildren, Caden, Kiana, Alina, Joseph, and Philip. Congratulations, Kathy, on your exceptional career.
We'd like to present this plaque to Kathleen Culligan in appreciation of your leadership, devotion, and service to the children of the Brewster Central School District as Director of Human Resources, Brewster Board of Education, June 2019. Thank you.
Another round of applause.
Okay, we now move on to recognition of Dr. Valerie Henning Piedmont, Superintendent of Schools. It is my privilege to speak on behalf of the Board of Education and the district this evening to honor our superintendent, Dr. Valerie Henning Piedmont. Although she is leaving our district, we can honestly say that many great things have been accomplished under her guidance and leadership during her time here. I asked my fellow board trustees to share with me their thoughts on Dr. Henning and how she will be remembered. The words that came to mind were passionate, dedicated, hardworking, often being the first in the district and last to leave, an advocate for all students, having concern for and connecting with students on a personal level, mentoring and forward-thinking, always trying to prepare students for today and tomorrow through use of research and smart practices for the district, and reflecting on all the accomplishments and areas that have been positively influenced through Dr. Henning. The list got quite long, but I think it is important to name a few. Dr. Henning, you strengthened and established structures to support student learning, such as the MTSS process in data-driven inquiry. Championed the SCP, helping it come alive in our curriculum, instruction, assessment, professional learning, and learning environment. As Deputy Superintendent, you helped to bring in Teachers College Reading and Writing K-5, giving us a common K-5 English Language Arts curriculum. Also, this year, under your guidance, we adopted a K-5 math curricular resource that is aligned to the skills in our SCP. You had us evaluate our disciplinary practices, looking through a different lens, making space for restorative practices. Other curricular achievements, Project Lead the Way in grades 2 through 12, Word Study, K-5, and Jason Learning. We fostered project-based learning through professional learning opportunities with the Buck Institute for Education, helped us comply with all of the E&L mandates, which allowed our program to move forward, utilized social media like no previous Brewster superintendent to help communicate with parents and the community the needs and accomplishments of the district, leveraged learning walks K-12 to assist in furthering the integration of the SCP skills and in enhancing leadership development, and put in great effort to highlight and recognize the great accomplishments of our students and our employees at public meetings and school events. I'm sure everyone here has a memory that stands out as something they will cherish for life. I would like to personally add that you will be missed, Dr. Henning, and we wish you all the best in all your future endeavors. I know you will be a huge success in your new district, and as with everything you do, they will be all the better for having you as we are now. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Presented to Valerie Henning Piedmont, in appreciation of your leadership, devotion, and service to the children of the Brewster Central School District as Superintendent of Schools, Brewster Board of Education, June 2019.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the Board of Education for all of your dedication. Everything that you mentioned wouldn't be possible if you weren't behind it and supporting it. So all the thanks to you as well. And I appreciate the opportunity for being able to serve in the district. It's a wonderful district. Thank you.
We now move on to presentation, Chevron project update.
Just to give you a little feedback, the groundwork. In February of 2017, Brewster was selected as one of 6 school districts across the country to participate in the School Food Support Initiative sponsored by Lifetime Foundation, Chevron Foundation, and Whole Kids Foundation. This grant is for school districts who want to transition their food from heat and serve processed foods to whole foods that are cooked from scratch. We have completed year 2. This is our update on our progress. An on-site team recommended that we organize our staffing to support scratch cooking. So what we did was combine CB Star and H.H. Wells. These slides are we combined CB Star and H.H. Wells to be one site, one kitchen, one site. Each site should have one person in charge. We've accomplished that. We've extended the hourly commitment of the morning shift to create continuity in production, receiving, and lunch service. We created 4 5.5-hour positions from what was 3.5. And with my greatest Our greatest accomplishment, I guess, at this point is to say that we board approved a supervisory position dedicated to culinary consistency and operational improvements. And with great pleasure, I get to introduce to you Jean Dohan.
Hello, everyone. I came on board just May 6th as the Assistant Director of Food Service Production for the district. I couldn't be more excited about this venture. I get to merge my passion and expertise in nutrition and wellness with my career. Another bonus is that I get to do this all in the community I live in, so that's awesome. I'll be working very closely with Kathy and the rest of the food service nutrition team to help us move forward with the initiative goals. One of my first challenges is to facilitate more professional development and training for our team. So I'm happy to announce that first up on August 29th, we were able to meet with Stephanie Heath from, she's the food and nutrition specialist from Forward Food, and she's coming to conduct a team building plant-based culinary training for our staff. It's an interactive training, and it's going to help us working towards more sustainable and green menu offerings, which is really great. And then on March 4th, we have a staff training session with chef educator Dan Merritt. He manages Whole Kids Nutrition, Whole Kids Foundation Healthy Food Service staff program. We look forward to having him here to engage our team, and we are thankful for their continued support and partnership.
This is a tag team presentation. So our partners, as we talked about before, one of our partners is Lifetime Foundation, who awarded us a $50,000 grant 2 years ago. And part of our commitment to them is to remove the 7 harmful ingredients from our foods. We talk monthly over foods that we purchase. We just put a new bid out. We'll continue to sharpen our pencil. Prior to making changes, 45% of our food items contain at least one of the 7 harmful ingredients. Year 1, we lowered the number to 39%. In year 2, we have lowered our number to 31%, with the focus on artificial sweeteners, primarily with drinks at Brewster High School. Our change is slow and deliberate to make sure that we have acceptance. This year, we had great fortune using some of our school lunch funds to purchase healthy vending machines. In October 2018, we installed our first vending machine strategically placed in the gym lobby. The second machine was put into operation in February outside the Performing Arts Center. Students could purchase Greek yogurt, smoothies, yoga buffets, and the vending machine is cashless. It's through our point of service. It was nice we got to logo the machine downstairs.
So we basically have Kathy had started the shared table process, but we decided to have more signage to promote this. Basically, that's a picture of the shared table that goes out at breakfast and lunch at CV Star every day. For those of you who aren't familiar with how shared tables work, students drop off unwanted, unopened food or drink at the shared table immediately after leaving the service line. If a student is still hungry after finishing his or her meal, he or she may pick up items from the share table. Whatever is left over at the end of the day, service day, goes into a refrigerated collection box.
There's a visual. So on Fridays, we have a volunteer come from Hudson Valley Community Food Network to pick up our donations. As I flip my pages. And this is a letter from the director of Community Food Network expressing their appreciation for what we've done. An interesting piece of information that they shared with us. Well, we started this on on April 26th. So in 7 weeks, we've donated 640 pounds of food to Food Bank. That would have gone in garbage. So that's pretty incredible. I'm very proud of everybody that stepped up. Part of Jean's interaction with the students is to try to teach about food waste so that we can collect even more. No sense of this going to the garbage. Unfortunately, we're mandated to serve a vegetable or fruit on everybody's tray. So if we can, they're not eating it and we can donate it, we're happy to do that. We continue with our wellness team, our wellness plans. We focus this year on exercise and learning. Next year's focus will be on greening our school food, and hopefully we will be able to get CV Star's garden back to life.
So this picture right here is a picture of just some of the taste testing that I've been running. We have enabled this Meatless Mondays option, so it's another option, a vegetarian option, on top of the regular options we offer. That was a picture of our veggie burger. I cut it up nice and small and then offered it to the children, walked around just to get their feedback, which was pretty awesome. So they initially weren't willing to buy it on the line at first, but after tasting it, I got nothing but, wow, this is awesome. So it's pretty cool. We plan on every new menu item we roll out, we plan on doing a little taste testing for them to get student buy-in. We look forward to next week is our home-style baked zucchini, so that's coming up next.
I'm not like the rest. I've ordered a new digital menu platform which will be ADA compliant, so we're starting to upload all those. It will have digital information, it will have photographs. She's actually live photographs, so it's not just a standard chop. We're going to actually plate up what we're serving. We're looking forward to that. And in closing, a sincere thank you to the Board of Education, Administration, and community for your continued support. A very special shout out to the Child Nutrition Services team who will make this happen. I am grateful for all you do.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
So is there a, because it says like at the end of year 2, we're at 31% for the school. Is there, and I appreciate the thoughtful rolling out of it, is there a timeline or a goal in terms of hitting it, getting it down to 0?
The plan has been, it's a 5-year commitment to the grant,
Okay.
so.
Over that time period. And then just, you had a picture of the share table. That was CV Star you mentioned. Do all the schools have that?
CV Star and Wells have ones that look similar to that. We do not have anything at this moment at the high school. And JFK has just a table, not as fancy as that one.
Okay, it's just curious. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we now move on to public remarks specific to any action item below. If anyone has any comment that they would like to make pertaining to the action items specifically on today's agenda, you're welcome to come up. You'll have 2 minutes and you may address the board.
Good evening. Just one quick question in regards to one of the policies up for approval.
On 7510 Student Health Services, there are currently religious exemptions listed as part of the policy. Now, currently there's bills pending in the Senate and the Assembly that may or may not pass. I just wanted to know what we need to do to be prepared in case they do it and how we can handle it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, we'll close the public remarks and move on to our action items. Approval, up first is approval of interim superintendent for the period of July 1st through July 31st, 2019. I need a motion, please. Glenn, and a second, Diane. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0.
Very fine choice. Congratulations.
Should I have said more? We move on to action item number 2, approval of bus bond approved on May 22nd, 2019 by qualified voters of Brewster Central School District. This action item is a roll call vote, but I believe I need a motion first and a second. Eric and Kristen, thank you. Questions or comments? Thank you to the community for supporting this item. Okay, and now we just...
Mr. Nash, your vote? Mrs. Ryan? Yes. Ms. Cunningham? Yes. Mrs. Seeger?
Yes.
Mrs. Hawk? Yes. Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Hines? Yes. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, move on to action item number 3, approval of required change in meal prices, sorry.
It's part of the standard process every year, but there's a minor increase, and as is indicated here, it's only a very small amount, a dime, which is equivalent to past increases.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion, please, in a second. Glenn and Carrie, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Action item number 4, acceptance of donations. A, American Dairy Association for Breakfast Program. B, Mr. and Dr. Chunja, sorry, I apologize for that, for JFK Idea Room. C, donation from the Community Foundations of the Hudson Valley Fund for Excellence in Education grants for the Spirit Animal Puppets, Marionettes, stop motion for the 4th grade, and budget amendment number 14. That was a lot to read. I hope that made sense. Well, they're donations, so there's not really much to say about that.
Only that every bit counts, and we really appreciate everything that our community gives to our schools and in support of the vision of development of IDEA Room. I'm sure Dr. Zampa is very happy to receive that, and the efforts of some of our educators, Ms. Lee, who wrote the grant for the marionette puppeteering work that supports art and also STEM. It's a very STEM-oriented grant. And, you know, 2,000 here, 2,300 here makes a big difference, so we really appreciate it. And thank all of the donations, and everything will be used with the greatest of gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion and a second. Danny and Kristen, thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Move on to action item number 5, approval of JFK change order, S&L Plumbing, number PC-019R.
Just a credit back to us, so this is a good thing. And it's a traditional change order form, and again, this is, we thank our engineers for making it possible for us to get a reduction in discrepancies, a decrease of about $8,000, so that's pretty significant, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you have a motion and a second. Eric and Carrie, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Action item number 6, approval of resolution between the Brewster Central School District and Southern Westchester BOCES Lower Hudson Regional Information Center to enter into a 3-year service contract for network printing services and support and subject to BOCES aid through NICEAD.
Mr. Trevor will explain that, and again, it represents another benefit for the school district.
So every year we have a contract with a vendor to provide us with support for our copiers and printers throughout the district. And it came to the end of our 5-year contract at the same time that we have entered into the network support COSER with the Lower Hudson RIC, which allows us to then go do our new printing and copier contract through the Southern Westchester BOCES and the RIC. So what this approval does is allows us to enter into that 3-year lease in order to do that, and it will allow us to get aid on all of that, thus turning an $800,000 expense over the course of 5 years into a savings of over $500,000. So. It really is a benefit by taking this route and entering into this contract with BOCES.
Thank you. I need a motion, please. Diane, and a second. Eric. Questions or comments? I agree. Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. We move on to approval of policy. First read, 7510, student health services, and 7510-E, use of orthopedic assistive devices on school property, exhibit 5691-R, hygiene precautions and procedures regulation.
Yes, thank you. If I can start by addressing Mr. Suga's question.
Please, thank you.
First is law always supersedes policy. So if the law goes into effect, then our practice immediately will follow that law as soon as that law is effective. And then we'll go through the proper channels with the policy committee and the first and second read of the board to make it into official policy language. So that's the first piece. The policies that are up for your first read approval have been vetted by legal counsel and policy committee, and we recommend them forward to you.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please, and a second? Eric and Kristen. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Approval of side letter of agreement for BTA Dean of Students, Wells Middle School. Ms. Culligan?
Yes, this is an MOA with Brewster Teachers Association to continue the .5 Dean of Students position at Wells.
Thank you. I need a motion, please, in a second. Eric and Carrie, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Action item number 9, approval of employment contract for Christine Belcher, Provisional Personnel Specialist, School.
This is the terms and conditions of employment for Christine Belcher. She will be replacing Maria Brea. It is a new title, and she comes to us with experience in human resources, knowing instructional and non-instructional from Pond School District.
Thank you. Need a motion, please? Kristen, and a second. Danny. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. And action item number 10, approval of separation agreement and release for employee number 2545.
Yes, this is an agreement with the Board of Education to separate from this employee, as has been discussed in executive session.
Thank you. I need a motion, please. Carrie and Glenn, thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. We got through that. Great. Now we move on to the consent agenda. And I believe, Kathleen, you went over some of the items earlier in your comments? Yeah. Okay. Just a motion, please. Kristen and Diane, thank you. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. And now we move on to remarks. Board remarks and Board of Ed committee updates. think since we last met, what's happened? That we haven't covered. Yes, we went to the Westchester Putnam School Board's annual meeting. So essentially, they represent us and with different advocacy things. They provide trainings and do a lot of outreach and support. And that's their annual meeting where we go and we actually voted on it at the last meeting, so we were able to represent us at that meeting. And they had some speakers, and it was a good time, an educational type of presentation. So it's interesting and it's always helpful. That's it. Anyone else have anything? Go ahead, Andrew. I can. It was Eric's idea. I know we're trying to, the timeline's so long now, but the budget passed. We are grateful that the community supported the efforts and the vision for next year. And each year presents its own obstacles and different steps to the process that we have our 5-year plan and different things here. So we'll continue to do our best. We'll continue to be transparent with the budget and just to continue to improve on the work that we do. But we are all truly grateful to the community for supporting that, and we look forward to putting it all to work now. Do I add anything else to that? No? Okay. Okay, so we can move on to public remarks. If anyone has any comments they'd like to make, please state your name and address the board. You'll have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Karen Doty. I want to thank the administration and the Board of Ed for listening to the concerns of the community and putting into place a new registration policy and protocol, as well as the re-verification process to deter residency fraud. The district has financed and put great effort into the implementation of this process. The first year is now complete, and I'm requesting a presentation be given at the Residency Task Force meeting on June 20th that summarizes the data and feedback that has been collected. I am asking for the presentation to include the number of students that have enrolled in the district after the start of the school year, a comparison of this number to the past 3 school years. I would like to know the influx of enrollment in individual schools, and is there a greater need in individual buildings? And I'd also like to know the reasons, if it is collected, as to why people are enrolling mid-year. I'd like to know the number of leases and rentals that need to be checked each year, and who and how they are keeping track of this. What has been the feedback from building administrators and staff regarding one central registrar? Was there any specific criteria or protocol that warrants a change in the policy currently in place? Feedback regarding the current communication procedure being utilized between the faculty, building staff, and community members to discuss possible fraud with Mr. Holtzman and the registrar, and has it been successful? This year has been a learning process for both the district and community. The data that has been acquired through this process can greatly help all the districts in projecting and what the staffing needs for the buildings might need. A presentation to summarize the results of the current residency policy and an explanation of how the district intends to move forward with the strongest policy in place would educate and build trust with the community and deter any confusion with the district's intent. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Get back to the smaller room. There's way too much walking in here. Evening, my name is Scott Seaman. I'm just
just wanted to congratulations to all our retirees and our new tenures. Special congratulations to Dr. Piedmont, Diane O'Brien, and Kristen Call for all you've done for the schools. And I was glad to hear that the school paper followed up on the conditions in the bathrooms, and I hope things are going better for the students. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no more comments, I will close the public remarks. And just to respond, the next task force, the residency task force, will be meeting, I believe, on the 20th. So I will bring these, we'll address some of these things, as well as a follow-up presentation at the next board meeting on the 25th, is planned. Okay. So I think we're good. We do not have executive session to follow today's meeting. And we need a motion to adjourn, and then clap. Motion to adjourn? Carrie and Diane, thank you. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0, and we're good to go. Thank you, everyone.